阿拉伯联合酋长国，简称阿联酋，位于阿拉伯半岛东部，北濒波斯湾，西北与卡塔尔为邻，西和南与沙特阿拉伯交界，东和东北与阿曼毗连，是由阿布扎比、迪拜、沙迦、哈伊马角、富查伊拉、乌姆盖万和阿治曼7个酋长国组成的联邦国家。因盛产石油，素有“油海7珍”之称。阿联酋是一个以产油著称的西亚沙漠国家，有沙漠中的花朵美称。阿联酋所在的阿拉伯半岛位于2洋3洲5海交汇处，自古就是中国通往非洲和欧洲海上丝绸之路的必经之地，具有无可比拟的区位优势。“一带一路”倡议的提出，更是为阿联酋的经济发展带来契机。本期节目将走进阿联酋，与阿联酋驻华大使阿里扎西里一起探索“一带一路”下中阿两国的发展前景，共同畅想两国的灿烂明天。丝绸之路从古到今几千年的历史。公元2世纪，亚非欧之间已经形成了陆上和海上的商路。无论是陆地上还是海上的丝绸之路，西亚、北非地区，也就是人们常说的中东，都有着非常重要的地位。阿联酋是中东的一个集政治、经济、文化为一体的中心，既是作为连接东西方的枢纽，也是进入中东的门户。阿联酋亦在丝绸之路中扮演了重要的角色。从地图上看，它在“一带一路”上处于波斯湾咽喉地区。这个地方，尤其是迪拜，现在成了国际重要的转运港、国际金融中心、会展中心。世界上很多重要的经济活动都在迪拜。中阿自1984年建交以来，两国友好合作关系发展顺利，并在两国人民之间建立了深厚的友谊。
The Arabian Peninsula was an important trading route for the ancient Silk Road, with the ports and the Gulf providing ease of travel through to Europe and from the east. As much as 1,400 years ago, during China's Eastern Han Dynasty, a sea route, although not part of the formal Silk Route, led from China through the Malacca Strait to Southeast Asia, Sri Lanka and India, and then on the Arabian Gulf, eventually to Roman ports. The past kingdoms that were upon the Arabian Peninsula long had key ports on these routes, including areas what is now the United Arab Emirates. Apart from this long heritage, we were proud to host a priceless 1,400-year old green jaguar camel with the whole musicians on it. It is in its back at our UAE National Day event in Beijing last November, loaned from the Jad Museum for the event. The Jad camel dated back to the Tang dynasty as a symbol of ancient Arabian-Chinese ties. The United Arab Emirates is relatively a young country, with its age best viewed in comparison to the age of the People's Republic of China, which itself only recently celebrated its 70th anniversary. The United Arab Emirates was founded in 1971, so we will celebrate its half centennial next year. So we'll have our 50th anniversary next year. Therefore, of course, we are a small country, but we have a lot of ambitious plans, and we have a very high ambition to do a lot and to make a strong presence in the region. So therefore, the development of the UAE relations with China should be analyzed within this short period. It was a Chinese Premier Zhao Enlai who formally recognized the flagging UAE in 1971 and opened the door to strong UAE-China relations, furthered by a historic visit by the late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, the founding father of the nation, to China in 1990. This visit saw his vision deepening contact in all fields, not simply confirm the economy alone. So the UAE since it's grown to become China's #1 trade partner in the MENA region, and volumes are expected to grow to 70 billion in 2019. So there is a strong bilateral trade and investment between our two countries, with more than 4,000 Chinese companies well established and operating in the UAE in various sectors. It is estimated that there are around 300,000 Chinese call UAE home. They are working and they are entrepreneurs in the UAE, and all providing a significant contribution to the UAE economy, and of course fueling the strong friendly and strategic relationship between China and the UAE.
中阿贸易往来关系源远流长，早在7世纪，双方已有着海上贸易往来。在哈伊马角的祖勒法尔地区，考古专家发现了中国陶瓷，即是这段中阿贸易悠久历史的见证。阿联酋是中东地区经济发展速度最快的国家，是中东的贸易中心。该国油气资源丰富，资金充沛，但其他自然资源，特别是农业资源匮乏，食品、日用消费品等都需要依赖进口，在经济结构上与中国有着很强的互补性。因此，中阿两国间的经贸往来一直处于良性发展态势，规模不断扩大，质量不断提升，领域不断拓展，贸易摩擦极少发生。“一带一路”倡议的提出，使中国在阿联酋的投资涉及多个领域，如能源、电信、交通、房地产、贸易、金融、安全和服务等。
The Belt and Road Initiative is forming a cornerstone of UAE foreign policy. The UAE has agreed a comprehensive strategic partnership. President Xi Jinping visited to the UAE, bring bilateral ties to a higher level, and gives a fine example of cooperation between China and and Arab countries. So this relationship was refined during this visit to the Belt and Road Forum by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE and ruler of Dubai. The partnership was deepened still further by the state visit to the People's Republic of China by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces. The closeness of the UAE and China on BRI is clear through the UAE being elected as a vice chairman of the board of directors of the Belt and Road Initiative Tax Administration Organization. The UAE was a founding member of the Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank, the AIIB. Additionally, the UAE and China have a joint $10 billion investment fund focused on infrastructure and the development of mutual beneficial areas, particularly when we talk about technology, science, and medical, and many of these important areas. Indeed, essential projects include China's COSCO shipping port, which is currently working on the construction of a container terminal at the Khalifa port in Abu Dhabi. This will enhance and advance the UAE's role as a key logistic and trading hub, and will also serve a further diversity of the UAE dynamic and growing economy. At last year's Belt and Road Forum, China pledged to invest $2.4 billion to create storage and shipping stations in an area spanning 60 million square feet in our free zone Jabal Ali in Dubai, to export Chinese goods all over the world. Merchants market schemes will include large logistics, warehouses, and wholesale retail outlets. Chinese firm Yue will invest $2.4 billion to use the station for storing and transporting Chinese goods from Jabal Ali to the rest of the world. So a further $1 billion will be spent in setting up a major food project in Dubai that will involve the import, processing, and packaging of agriculture, fishery, animal products, and their exports to the world. So these are some examples I'm sharing with you, but of course due to UAE geographical location and its sound infrastructure and the model UAE is providing in terms of stability, strong economy, and also the safety of or security of investments, it provides a great platform for future investments and cooperation.
从公元7世纪以珍珠、贝壳为主的中阿商贸往来，到目前涉及的石油、可再生能源等诸多领域的战略性合作，双方正合力描绘能源丝路宏伟蓝图。中阿在落实“一带一路”合作的过程中，仍要发挥各自的优势，推进结构调整、创新合作方式。阿联酋具有较好的石油资源禀赋，满足中国能源需求的潜力巨大。中国是世界第一大石油进口与能源消费市场，可再生能源技术与产能名列世界前茅，有利于阿联酋增加收入，加快能源转型。
In rejuvenating the Silk Road is a ground vision. This is very initiative voices, a ground scale of ambition to rejuvenate China as long and esteemed status as a strong trading nation. Just to remind ourselves, the Belt and Road Initiative will link China to Europe by investments in rail, roads, ports, dams, bridges, gas pipelines, power plants. There are now links between 66 countries across Asia and Europe, with some estimating the final cost of the project to be in the region of $3 trillion. China is making a use of its huge foreign reserves and domestic infrastructure overcapacity for the initiative, which should also alleviate potential unemployment within China and enable access to foreign labor markets. Successes will cement China's place as a global superpower. So here is not only for China. Of course, all involved and all countries which is this initiative is touching will create great opportunities in terms of infrastructure investment, in terms of creating jobs, great opportunities, with no doubt. So this has come at a vital time the global infrastructure report by Oxford Economics outlines that the global infrastructure investment needs to be 94 trillion between 2016 and 2040. This is 19% higher than would be delivered under current trends, and is an average of $3.7 trillion per year. To meet this investment needs, the world will need to increase the proportion of the GDP it dedicates to infrastructure to 3.5% compared to the 3% expected under the current trends. China is well placed to serve this gap. The country has a great deal of recent experience in upscaling large infrastructure. For example, we can see the Hong Kong, Zhonghai and Macau Bridge as a fine example. Three gorgeous dam and many more. The Belt and Road Initiative will help to export this considerable experience to build infrastructure around the world. So the Belt and Road Initiative is certainly ambitious, with no doubt, and in fact has been described by some as the most ambitious development plan ever conceived. Therefore, the scale of this plan demonstrates China's great global ambitions as benefiting a global superpower on the rise. So, but of course, the leadership of China on this is not coming coincident. China is being as in terms of its size, in terms of its as an economic powerhouse, as the biggest contributor to the economic growth. So in that sense, it's logical to see China taking leadership in this such an initiative. China has a lot of experience in solar energy or renewable energy development, and UAE very keen to develop such areas. There's a lot of sharing in this regard. At the same time, UAE is providing a great platform for China in terms of its location, in terms of its infrastructure, such as re-export opportunities and so on. And of course, a great platform for a lot of projects to come between both friendly countries and working on under the framework of the comprehensive strategic partnership agreement between both countries.
中阿两国人文交流的第一步是开设汉语课程，这项倡议得到了阿联酋学生家长的赞赏。他们认为这是使学生掌握汉语的一大途径。中国已成为知识和技术的主要出口国，并将逐步成为全球文化和科学的目的地。两国人文交流更加便利和密切，双方文艺团组互访频繁，欢乐春节文化演出和迪拜周活动受到两国民众的热烈欢迎。中阿两国不仅在能源、金融、产能、高新技术等领域合作亮点纷呈，在文化和教育方面的合作更是成果喜人。
The Belt and Road cooperation is multifaceted and long-term vision. It is true that there is economic benefits. However, the UAE sees the cooperation going much deeper. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces, said during the unveil of the soon-to-be-built new UAE embassy to China that the UAE and China are creating a roadmap for a century of prosperity for our both countries' people and both countries' long-term relationship. So this is how the UAE is treating the Chinese relationship as a long-term strategic partnership. This is why the UAE is now teaching Mandarin in more than 200 schools in the UAE, thanks to the memorandum of understanding between the UAE Ministry of Education and the Confucius Institute headquarters of China, providing high quality Chinese language teaching in UAE schools, enhancing understanding between our people and connecting minds for generation to come. Another important aspects of bilateral relations is culture, and I see a deeper culture cooperation coming out of this as a positive benefit. For example, UAE-China Week is now regularly fixture on the UAE's calendar. A key driver of this is the Ministry of Culture and Knowledge Development, with the week aimed at facilitating culture of intermonology as a platform to allow thoughts, leaders and artists to meet, exchange views and learn about each other culture and traditions. Events are held in both countries to celebrate with the intention of highlighting local heritage. So here what I'm trying to say, Chinese community is a big size in the UAE. We are celebrating Chinese events such as Chinese Spring Festival, Chinese special occasions. So you can see that many landmarks is covered with the Chinese flag, which is we share our celebration with our fellow Chinese. The Belt and Road Initiative has evolved into a global initiative with shared aims that serves all stakeholders within it. This was true when His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE and ruler of Dubai, signed the shared memorandum of at the end of the Belt and Road Forum in April 2019. This document saw a rise of initiatives deepening the Belt and Road Initiative away from bricks and mortar infrastructure to wider infrastructure projects. For example, there was an agreement for a new cooperation initiative on Silk Road of innovation, a Green Silk Road Envoy program, which will train 1,500 environmental officials from the participating countries of the Belt and Road Initiative. In the next 3 years, China and UNESCO initiating and setting up the Silk Road Research Grant Project to support young researchers and scholars and much more. Over the past 6 years, the total trade volume between China and other participating countries has surpassed 6 trillion and 82 industrial parks have been established, creating nearly 300,000 local jobs. So we can see that the Belt and Road Initiative is evolving into a project of a global significance with increasingly sophisticated infrastructure projects that will shape the future of the world. I believe so. The initiative is sound, it's great, and it provides great opportunities for all stakeholders. So, and I think having China on taking the leadership on such initiative I'm full-hearted that this will associate with it a lot of success.
中阿经贸合作成果丰硕，双边经贸增长迅速，投资合作领域拓宽，承包工程成为合作热点，资金融通为新发力点。中阿经贸在30年间由缓慢到迅速发展，主要取决于两国优越的营商环境、巨大的经济增长潜力以及两国间经济强大的互补性。在经贸关系不断加强、政策沟通愈加紧密等因素的推动下，未来两国经贸合作将会进一步转型升级，向高质量、高标准、高水平不断发展。中国与阿联酋的经济不仅具有高度互补性，经济联系也日益多样化。展望未来新机遇，中国和阿联酋搭建一个互惠互利的双边关系平台，将能在更广地区确保和平、安全与繁荣发展。毫无疑问，中阿正迈向一个深化和拓展两国关系的重要里程碑。未来10年，中阿关系将进入一个有活力的新纪元。